Well, hello there, everyone. It's Mark Holthe here, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, coming to you live once again right here on the Canadian Immigration Institute with another episode of my Express Entry Live Q&A. So we'll give everyone a few minutes to jump on here as we once again share, I guess, a lot of knowledge, information about the Express Entry process. For those of you who are new and you are not able to watch this live and you're actually watching it as a recording, all you need to do is send an email to info right here at holthelaw.com. Don't forget to put EE Live Q&A. I can probably even shrink that down a little bit. EE Live Q&A in the subject line, and then you can have your questions considered for a future episode. So we'll slide those back here and slide that EE Live Q&A. That's important because you need to put EE Live Q&A right there in the subject line of your email. If you don't do that, then my gatekeeper, Marissa, is going to likely send you information to book a paid consultation. Another tip I'll also give is that if you want to get through that gatekeeper and get your questions answered by me right here live, what you need to do is make sure that your question is of general nature. If it gets too specific and it's only really going to relate to your individual situation, that's legal advice. And that needs to be provided via a paid consultation. So you can go right to, and I'll have Igor, my awesome immigration paralegal, I'm going to have Igor send a link to our holthelaw.com website where you can click, where you can fill out your information, click send, and have your appointment scheduled right away. So, all right, so awesome. We are here and excited to be broadcasting from, and once again, I'm going to pull this up so I make sure I get this right. So I think this is Milan. Igor, this is Italy. So I just wanted to give a shout out, and I'm going to move out of the way here, to all of you awesome people in Italy who are struggling. Like many of these countries, Canada is no exception to it, to this whole coronavirus thing. And I am planning on, still hoping to go to Egypt and to Jordan and to Israel, but we'll see how it plays out here in the next couple weeks. But right now, it looks like it is Bergamo. Bergamo, the walls in Bergamo, I think. Milan is where it is. But Igor can maybe post where this lovely, beautiful scene is overlooking this lovely Italian town. So that's where I'm broadcasting from. If you would like me to broadcast from your location, what I want you to do is send me a picture. Go to, you can send me Facebook Messenger, you can send me an email, you can send me a link. You can even just send me a simple comment that basically states where you want me to pull a picture from, and I can track it down and find it. All right. So at this stage right now, I want to just give a shout out to all of you who are, I love this. I get these messages here that people are commenting already. Ahmed says hi. Mark, once again, Ralph Hansky, my good friend, says, hey, Mark. Igor gives a wave. Vikas says, hello, sir. I am from Warsaw, Poland. Vikas, then send me a picture, my friend. And I want all of you who are tuning in as well to please post where you're tuning in from, okay? Because I love to include you. Obviously, give you a shout out for sure for taking the time to join me today. So Vikas is in Poland, Warsaw. Will says, it's so difficult to make the payment for consultation. You're right, Will. It is difficult if you don't have an international credit card. But unfortunately, my friend, that is something that my clients have to figure out. So he says, when is your next appointment available? Will, send an email to Marissa right here, info@holthelaw.com. When you complete the intake form and you fill that out, you'll get then instructions to set up your consult, to make the payment, all of it. Okay. All right. Next. Igor says that's Bergamo, Italy. Yeah. Really close to Milan. Thank you, Igor. Adil says best lawyer. Thanks, Adil. I appreciate it. Okay. And Vika says he'll send it for sure. Excellent. Okay. And Insaf is in Dubai. Cool. Welcome. All right, guys. So today, like I said, we're going to be covering in the title, you'll see, we're going to talk a little bit about immigration medicals. And some of the questions that I've received from listeners relate to this topic. And so those of you who have questions that you want me to answer today, I actually am going to carve out more time to answer the live questions. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, be patient, wait, because when I give you the green light, the thumbs up, then you're going to have the ability to post your questions right here live in the comment section. For those of you who are watching this on YouTube and wondering where is Mark broadcasting from, it's my Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page. That's where it's live. It also gets posted in the Express Entry Law private Facebook group, which is still growing. And where is it now? I'm going to take a look and just see where the numbers are. I swear Facebook blocks it. I swear that you can't exceed 125,000 because I've been sitting at 124,000 for I don't know how long. And I honestly believe that they don't let a group go any larger than that. Maybe that's not the case. Let's see where we're sitting at today. I'm always curious. Okay, today we're at, 124,751 members, which if I share my screen with you guys right here, you can see, the banner says 124, haven't changed it for a while. But if you look to the right here, 124,751 members. And so, I've never been able to break the 125 barrier, and I have to assume that Facebook is just dropping people off as fast as people are being added, which is totally fine. It's not a competition to see who has the largest group on Facebook. But I want to give a special shout out to my moderators, to all the people that have been so helpful to one another in my Express Entry Law private Facebook group, because it's a good, safe place to get your questions that you can ask and bounce them off of other people who are going through the journey just like you. And we have many, what I call Canadian Immigration Institute alumni who have graduated, in other words, have gone through, benefited from all of the amazing help and support of this awesome group, and now have found themselves in Canada as permanent residents. So just wanted to give a shout out to all the moderators and all of you that have been so kind to share your knowledge freely with everybody else in the group. So thank you. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, those of you who have questions, hold on and I'll let you know when you can post them. At this stage, I'm going to start off by answering the questions sent in by listeners via email. And once again, just send an email to info@holthylaw.com. And Mauricia, if you're lucky enough to ask a good question, and you've put EE Live Q&A in the subject line of your email, Mauricia, my client intake specialist, she will screen it out and she will post it here for me to answer. All right, let's see who we have here. Okay, so that one was answered, that one was answered, that one was answered. Okay, so here we go. First question is from Rabia. And Rabia says, "Dear Mark, hope you are well. I've got a question. I got my invitation to apply. Congratulations, that's awesome. And I'm unsure about whether an upfront medical is mandatory. Can I get my medical after all the documents have been submitted? Am I required to get it up front?" So this is a fantastic question. And it is really important that these questions are asked. And I actually haven't had this one for a long time. You know, many people will probably just assume, yes, you need a medical and it's full stop. It's all said and done. That's what you need. Well, they're right, Rabia. The reality is anything that you have in that document checklist, your own personal document checklist that's generated, it's 100% mandatory that you include your upfront medical. Now, I want to say something. For many of you, you can actually get your medicals before you even receive your ITA. But if you haven't received an ITA, and you guys have seen where these comprehensive ranking system scores are going, just up and up and up and up. We were fortunate they dropped it down to about 470 the last round, but we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm excited for one of my clients. We just submitted his profile today. He's at 475, so I'm crossing my fingers that that's going to be good enough. I've got another one that's hovering right at 471, so I'm hoping for them as well. And so you can see that there's a lot of people that are obviously not even going to rank that high that are not going to have a chance. So my recommendation always with medicals is not to race out and get them too soon unless you know for sure that you are going to get that invitation to apply. Now, if you are comfortable and you believe you are because your scores are at 480 or something like that, then go ahead and get that immigration medical, because you're going to get drawn on the very next draw. So when it comes to medicals, yes, Rabia, they are mandatory. You have to also take into consideration that you only have 60 days to obtain your medical and to submit your EAPR after getting that invitation to apply. Most people are pretty familiar with Express Entry who are just tuning in, but for those of you who are uncertain about these acronyms I'm using, an invitation to apply, or an ITA, is basically what you are given when you've entered your profile into the Express Entry pool and you're scooped out. So you're drawn. Then they extend that invitation to apply for you to then take the next step to submit your electronic application for permanent residence, the EAPR. Now, an upfront medical is an immigration medical that the government requires every immigrant to undergo, and it can be done before actually you've submitted your electronic application for permanent residence. And in fact, it's actually mandatory. So some of you in some of your countries, the booking times for getting a medical might be a long time. So the first thing I always want you to do is to go determine where the designated panel physician is in your country, give them a call, see what the timing is for booking an appointment for your medical. And if you feel really confident you're going to get an invitation to apply, then don't delay. Go and get your medical done, especially if you're in a situation where you know you're going to get that ITA right away. And you know that it's taking a while to book those appointments. So you don't want to be in a situation where you're not getting the appointment because the doctor is away on holidays or something like that. So be proactive. All right. So that's basically it. And if for whatever reason, understand, if you can't get that immigration medical, then the only option you have is to beg for mercy, which with an immigration department full of officers that are trained to be cold, heartless, and ruthless, I don't ever count on the fact that the officer is going to be kind and recognize that through circumstances outside of your control, you weren't able to get your immigration medical. But if you do fall into that situation where you weren't expecting an ITA, it magically drops down to 450, which I know Canada probably isn't going to scoop out 30,000 people or 40,000 people, whatever it is at 450. But the reality is, if it drops down, you're unprepared. You call the doctor, they say, oh, the panel physician here is going to be on vacation for 2 months. Well, the key for you in those circumstances is to act as quickly as possible to make the attempt to get the medical immediately after getting your invitation to apply. Once you have made that attempt, if you get feedback in written form, something that you can prove that says there's nothing that you can do, we just are not booking appointments until this day, and that day is after the deadline for filing your EAPR, then in those circumstances, you'll compile all of that evidence, you'll make the case, and you'll ask the officer to hold off until you're able to get your appointment. And then you will, through a case-specific inquiry, the web form, you'll update that immigration medical. And you explain that all in the letter of explanation, and you upload it into the spot where your immigration medical was supposed to go. So that's the only way you can do it. But I can tell you, even if you follow all of those processes, you're still in a situation where an officer could say, too bad, so sad, I'm just going to return your application. And you guys know what the effect of that is. The CRS score may never drop down to the point that you were at. So I think the world of the officers, I think the world of the immigration department, but this processing, this one-touch ruthless processing sucks. It's cruel and heartless. And I'll continue to say it for as long as I can. It's great to have quick processing, that's great. But to have an unfeeling, cold, heartless process that destroys people's chances of coming to Canada when they were fully qualified to do it, all because, in this instance, they couldn't get an immigration medical because the immigration, the panel physician just wasn't available to do it, or there was too big of a demand that you couldn't get an appointment. Well, I think that sucks. So there we go. All right. So there was the first question. That's kind of like the flagship question. Maybe Igor, when we're doing our timestamps for the videos, maybe you could just make a note of when I answered that one, which is kind of the flagship question. And guys, today I'm actually keeping this shorter for the written ones so that I can dedicate more time for the people who are watching live. So if this is your first time, in just a few seconds, I'm going to allow you to post your questions, and I'm going to go through and answer everybody's question that I can possibly get my hands on. Okay, so hang tight here. Next one. This one is from Naveen from India. Hi, Mark. I'm Naveen from India. Hope you are in good health. Ironically, Naveen, I've been pretty sick the last few days. You guys can even see my eye here is kind of still a little bit red. Uh, Not a lot of sleep, kind of wore out. But that's what happens when you're starting your own brand new immigration law firm. You end up spending hours, endless hours in the evening, corresponding with Microsoft, trying to figure out how the heck to share documents within this SharePoint or within OneDrive. Apparently my staff, as I talked to them today, they had no problem being able to share a folder with clients, which is an important part of the representation that we do with our clients. And me trying to do it, I was on the phone for like an hour and a half until 2 a.m. I think is when I ultimately went to bed. So I'm running on fumes like I usually am. And yes, I know I'm going to make myself sicker. And yes, I know if I'm traveling abroad, my immune system is going to be weaker and more susceptible to getting things like the coronavirus. But this is life and you just got to do what you got to do. So there's so many amazing, cool things that are happening. And they're all kind of like coming together to coalesce into this awesome little entity that we're calling Healthy Immigration Law. But until that time, Mark's going to keep plugging away with not as much sleep and relying a lot on his awesome staff, Susan Wood, Igor, and Maricia, and a wonderful team with Parrot Solutions. And I'm going to give a shout out to those guys again. Let's see if I can find Parrot here, and I'm going to show you guys right here. This is their, as soon as it opens up, this is their website. They are the ones that are developing not only my site, but helping me with so many different things related to my online presence. And so a big shout out to them. They've been working so hard over the last while. And I'm just really, really grateful for all that they do. And they do fantastic work. They work with some great companies. You can see our logo is right there, HIL. And they do everything from branding to you name it, print design, obviously web design and development. But they do the whole work, the whole portfolio of things that anyone would need if they're operating a business online. And they're going to help me with my social media to get my branding all consistent, because you guys have seen what I've got out there. One, I've been told no one can find me or no one can reach me, which is probably true. But I also I was also identified that it was made very apparent to me that people couldn't find me at all online. And obviously you guys know where to find me. I'm here, but I have to do a whole lot better job. But I'll also tell you a little secret. The reason that I don't do that is because if I make myself too known right now, I'm not in a position to take on this massive tsunami of new work that's going to come when I get my presence out there. So right now, the most important thing for me is that I have the time to service the clients that I have right now. And I don't need to take on more than I have room to. I want to make sure that myself and my awesome staff are all sufficiently positioned to be able to respond to people, especially our clients, when they need our help most. And you guys know what it's like. The big manufacturing facilities out there that pump so many people through, you're just a number to them. You're not even, I don't even know how to describe it. You're not even a name hardly to them. So, but with us, you're family. All right, moving forward. It is now time for you to post questions. And because I'm saying it's now time right now, I am going to answer the first question after Rima Sharma's question. So Rima, you're going to have to post yours again. And everyone that's posting questions after Rima Sharma, and Rima, you repost yours again, so it's fair for everybody. I'm going to start answering those questions. Okay, what's new with the Holthe clan as I'm battling my way through this little bit of an illness? Well, like I've said before, what I've got planned is on March the 18th to fly to Egypt. At least I'm hoping that's the case. It has been an absolute dream for me to be able to go to Cairo, to see Luxor, to go through Giza and just see that whole area. It's been something I've just dreamed of doing for basically all my life. I love archaeology. It's something that I've got on my bookmarks on my phone and on my internet browsers. I'm always looking to see what the latest archaeological discoveries are. And I think if I wasn't an immigration lawyer, that's probably what I would do. I think all of you, I guess I'm going to ask a question to you guys. If you could do, well, if money was not an object, you didn't have to provide for your family or to provide for yourself in the same way. If you were independently wealthy and didn't really need to work, and you just wanted to do something that you were passionate about, what would you do? If you could change your occupation to something else, what would it be? I want you to post in the comments, and I'm gonna, and I think what I'm gonna do is, let's see here. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna give away one free access to my Express Entry Law, my Express Entry do-it-yourself complete guided course. I'm going to give away a free access to it for, well, I can't do it for everybody that answers that question, but for the one that's the most interesting, we'll say that at my discretion. Actually, you know what? I don't want to be biased. I'll let Igor choose. So Igor will wait till the end of the, end of the video here. And those who stick around to the end, and I'll tell you when to post, so don't post just yet. At the end of this video, I'm going to have you guys think about it. If you could do anything in the world, it could be what you're doing now. Maybe you love doing what you're doing. So for me, it's archaeology. But for all of you guys, I'm going to wait, and when I give you the green light at the end of this video, you're going to post what you're doing now as an occupation, and you're going to also post what you would rather be doing with your life if you had a choice to do anything you wanted and money wasn't an object. Okay? I'm just curious, so we'll have that for fun. Whoever Igor feels is the most interesting kind of a switch and change, he'll choose who's going to get the free access to my Express Entry complete step-by-step course. I've been told not to call it a guide because a guide implies it's just some little goofy little Word document. This is a comprehensive course. Then I'll give free access to it. All right? And I think maybe I should probably even make that kind of an ongoing part of these DIY, these EE Live Q&As, I should say. All of these acronyms, DIY, EE Live, course, guide, no sleep. Okay, let's get into these questions. It is now time. All right, so the first question, this one comes from Yash. And Yash says, hi, can you please tell me if someone changes a job within, if someone changes a job within Canada post EAPR, do one need to let IRCC know of? Yash, no, you don't. Ultimately, when you submit your EAPR, there isn't an opportunity to really update. The only way you can do that is through a web form, through the case-specific inquiry. If you have a profile and it's in preparation for receiving your invitation to apply, well, then you actually acknowledge and attest when you're submitting your profile that you will update it if anything has changed. But for your purposes, the only time that I would change a job in Canada is if it's your current position. So, and maybe this actually does, maybe this actually does affect a lot of people. But if you're moving from your current position and the position that you're working in Canada, you've actually checked off that this is your current job, well, then I think you do have an obligation, at least, and understand many people probably would say, don't worry about it. But for me, if that's no longer accurate and that position that you have with that company has come to an end and you've moved to a different one, then you should notify immigration, because otherwise in your profile or in your EAPR, it will appear that you're continuing to work at that position. Now, that's probably going overboard, and many immigration lawyers out there would probably say it's not necessary. But guys, immigration is ruthless, and I've never heard of anyone getting an application returned because they didn't notify the government that their position was no longer, that they weren't working with them. But I guess the biggest thing that you need to take into consideration is also the program that you've qualified under, the Federal Skilled Worker Program or the Canadian Experience Class. With the Canadian Experience Class, you don't have to continue working for a company unless that company has offered you a job offer. And if you have 50 extra points that are coming to you because the company in Canada has offered you a job and you've left that company and gone somewhere else, then that situation, 100% of the time, you have an obligation to notify the government. And guess what? You're going to lose your points. So with that, when you have a job offer, yeah, you've got issues if you're planning on changing that job, because it could affect your eligibility to get those 50 extra points or 200 points in the context of an executive level NOC, so senior managerial executive level position. So keep that in mind. And there's a lot of different nuances to this. Those of you who are in Canada getting work experience points, and rarely will you qualify into the federal skilled worker program. You'll always qualify through the CEC traditionally first. Sometimes it can happen, but you have to take that into consideration as well. For the federal skilled worker program, if you are once again getting points for job offer points, then you need to make sure that you're not changing. Otherwise you could lose them. All right. But if that's not the case, then for a CEC, you can change your position and it doesn't really affect your score or anything. But if you did list it as your current occupation, then I do like to update it just to make sure that the officer knows you're no longer there and that work history you're claiming is not continuing to build. All right. All right. So Bayan says, "Hi, Mark. I want some clarification about the RPRF, which is the right of permanent residence fee. And if not paid from the beginning, is asking for this payment a sign that the application is approved or near approval?" Yes, they would not ask for that unless you were really close. Great question, Bayan. All right. I'm trying to stay focused here. Jason says, "Hi, Mark. Currently, I'm in a common law relationship, which is registered in one of the states of Australia. Okay, Canada accepts common law. 1 year living together. That's essentially it, subject to other evidence proving a centralized mode of existence. However, both of us have decided to separate, okay, and deregister our relationship. But this won't happen at least until the next 2 years due to personal circumstances. I haven't received my ITA yet. Is it fine to show myself as single in express entry, as I won't be sponsoring her anyway? In case I do end up getting PR, many thanks." Well, common law is different than marriage. So when you are common law, there is no real legal separation for the purposes of common law in Canada. At the end of the day, if you're still living with the person and everything else is still centralized, then it's possible that an officer could still consider you to be common law. And Jason, there's a ton of things in here that affect how you answer this, how you list either or delist your spouse as being no longer common law. And I recommend that you actually book a consult with me, Jason, so that we can talk about it. Because there's a lot of different elements and you don't want to be in a position where immigration feels like you've somehow misrepresented. All right. So that's one that's super specific, super, super interesting. I haven't got that one before, but really relates to a lot of your personal circumstances. Because usually when you're separated, you move out, you move apart, you're done. Common law is over. But you've kind of indicated that that's not going to happen for the next 2 years due to personal circumstances, which is code for you need to book a paid consult, because I need to know what those are. All right. And Igor will have probably posted the link to where you can book that paid consultation. Okay. So now, all right. Let's see. Okay. Dorcas says, hey, how's it going, Dorcas? Good to see you. Sathi says, "I am already post AOR and my spouse received 2 furtherances for medical tests, which were done and uploaded by the hospital in mid-January. But till date, the decision on medical is not updated. Biometrics done and are updated already. As per the telephonic conversation with IRCC, I got to know that the file is under process. What should I do now?" Pretty simple, Sathi. You wait. It takes a long time. Understand, anytime you have any request from IRCC to do something further, to provide further documentation, to have a medical furtherance, whatever it is, especially with medicals, you're in for a long haul. So don't expect anything to happen anytime soon. I've seen these types of situations drag on for more than 6 months. So what should you do now? Buckle down and just wait. All right. Okay, let's see. We'll try not to answer the same questions twice. Okay, Sima says, "I want to ask about WES or CES. I have 3 years nursing degree and 2 years of a BSN nursing degree with 1 year midwifery. Apart from my 12th grade, which to opt for?" Well, it doesn't really matter. If you go to WES and WES assesses your 3 year nursing degree as something less than 3 years, and then therefore eliminates your possibility of getting credit for 2 or more credentials, one of which being at least 3 years, then you go to CES or you go to one of the others. But for immigration purposes, all educational credential assessments are treated equally for the purposes of assessment. And if an officer comes and says, oh, I like Wes more than CES, they have no jurisdiction to do that. And that's a reviewable error, which will result in a federal court leave to appeal application, which will probably be consented by the Department of Justice lawyer. And in your situation here, it really doesn't matter. So then what do I do when it doesn't matter? I go with whichever one is going to issue it quicker. Maybe it's Wes, maybe it's CES, but there's even others. Okay. All right, and then Will says, what's the chance for someone at 44 years old with a master's degree and 10 years experience to apply for EE? Will, I need a whole lot more information on that. I can tell you at 44 years, it is virtually impossible for you to be granted an ITA through the General Express Entry stream. You've just lost too many points. 30 years, when you hit 30, you've got 5 points. 31, you've lost 10. 32, 15. 33, 20. Keep doing the math. Up to 44, you've pretty much lost all of those points. And so there is virtually no chance of getting an ITA through the General Express Entry draws. So then it comes down to work history. It comes down to other things that you would do, miraculously getting a job in Canada. When you're 44 years old, going back to do a master's degree when you already have one, rarely will ever be approved by immigration. Going and doing a PhD, well, possibly, I guess. So you would have to figure out other ways to get to Canada, to get work experience, and then hopefully that employer would help to transition you from a foreign worker to permanent residence. And understand that express entry is only one way that you can immigrate to Canada. And if you are working in one of the provinces, often many of them have other programs that allow for a paper-based PNP application to be submitted after you get that provincial nomination. So there's streams for express entry and there's streams for paper-based PNPs. So that's kind of where you're at. Okay, HM says, can I ask some questions? Sure you can, Mostaf. You bet. Okay, CC says, can you use a nomination certificate received via EE to get a work permit in any occupation other than the assessed occupation while in Canada if there is no employment restrictions noted on your nomination? Usually what you're looking for is an R204C letter that usually accompanies your nomination. Sissy, you'd need to actually reach out to me and show me what you got. You need to book a paid consult and we could talk through this. Because in many cases, if you have a nomination that is not employment restricted, then you are free once you get the your acknowledgement of receipt to apply for a bridging work permit. If your work permit is expiring within 4 months of basically when you want to apply, you could apply for a bridging open work permit. But in some cases, provinces like Alberta, for instance, do issue an R204C letter to someone to apply to extend their stay on their work permit if their work permit is coming to a close. But the R204C letters are all about your employer, so they're not open. There was a time when we could submit nomination certificates alone and get work permits extended, but understand in these situations, they're always employer specific. So the only way, in my mind, and understanding your situation, and if there's a different situation, it might change how the advice is given here. But when it comes to applying for an open one, it's usually through the bridging open work permit. When you have less than 4 months or less left on your work permit, then you can apply for that. And if it's an open and not employer restricted nomination, then in those circumstances, you possibly can. Okay, Naveen says, hello, Mark, it's Naveen here from India. My bachelor's degree session was from 2013 to 2017 and completed my degree in 2018 due to 2 backlogs. Can I count experience from 2017, even if the NOC 3131 retail pharmacist needs license to practice? What shall I fill in the date qualified section in profile? Okay, Naveen, first off, I can't tell if your experience is in Canada or outside Canada. All right, so that's the most important part. I'm assuming that it was probably outside Canada. If it was outside Canada, you can do both. There's no restriction on studying and working, as long as you can show that you were paid, that you were working full time in a skilled occupation, which 3131 is, that it was continuous, and and that the duties that you're performing included a substantial number of those main duties associated with NOC 3131. As far as the license to practice, Canada doesn't care for foreign work experience. It's all about your duties. Did you perform all of the activities in the lead statement? And did you perform a substantial number of those main duties? And that's what they're looking at. All right, Darko says, does the coronavirus affect the Express Entry program? No, not in insofar as it affects immigration medicals. I'm assuming if you have the coronavirus, it's probably going to impact or delay your ability to travel to Canada like it would to any country, regardless of immigration. But that's really the extent of it. Canada isn't just closing the Express Entry down to all Italians, right? People go through the medical examinations, and people die of pneumonia, and we don't really know what the full effect of the coronavirus is, but ultimately medical inadmissibility relates to communicable diseases for sure. So that can delay your entry if you are currently suffering from full-blown the coronavirus. But there's, but when people get through it and they're no longer contagious, then it just, rarely will that result in you being inadmissible somehow to Canada. So, but that's a good question, Darko. That's a really good question. Okay. Asan says 2 years bachelor's in commerce. After that, 3 years accounting experience. After that, master's degree in accounting. I applied for WES for master's. Is it okay for master's degree for WES as it's the highest? Yes. Yes. I actually had a good conversation with one of my awesome clients from Ethiopia. We talked about this today. If your WES report was obtained just for a master's and it doesn't list anything else, then I just include the master's in my study history. And that's what I'm getting my points for. In the personal history, I fully disclose everything that you have here, the accounting, the master's, those kinds of things. But when it comes to including a degree for the master's, and I'll often include a transcript as well, and I'll even stick in the WES report. If you only have done the master's, then that's all I include. I don't include the other stuff, except I do list it in the personal history. All right, Naveen says, hi, Mark. Yep, Naveen, I did answer your question. It's at the beginning, I think. Yes, I believe. You guys probably remember. Let's see, did we? Yeah, I did answer yours, Naveen. Okay. All right. Okay, Will's back at it again. And he says, can I get 340 points with C11 work permit on EE? Will, that is not enough information for me to be able to tell you. Understand, 340 points is still way, way low. C11 is an entrepreneur work permit, which there's a whole host of things, including the fact that you can't be self-employed in Canada. And we run into a lot of issues with that. All right. Self-employed and get job offer points. All right. Okay. So Mark says, I recently received a BC PNP skills immigration nomination. Awesome. Then I realized it's paper-based and it will take 15 to 19 months. Can I apply again for another nomination for BC PNP EEBC? Okay. So I'll start off, Mark, with the reality that program, people would give anything to be in the position that you're in. Yes, it's super competitive to get through that skills immigration. And yes, it takes an eternity to process that application. But I always take the position that a bird right here in the hand is better than two over here in the bush. So I think the most important thing for you to seriously consider why you would want to give that up. But when it comes to applying through the BC PNP, I would just strongly, well, I don't know if discourage is the proper term, because I don't really know a lot about your situation, Mark. Probably the best thing would be to book a paid consult, so that we can go through it together. But but I can't really tell you. When it comes to the BCPNP, they don't allow two nominations to go forward at the same time. So eventually one of them is going to have to drop away. And if you give up this one that you have, and then you never ever get another nomination through the express entry streams, You know, that's something that you would be hating yourself for the rest of your life. Okay. Vicus says, what sort of documents are possible to present to IRCC to prove common law relation? Well, I don't know. Like, we could poll people. Well, I do know. Like, proof that you've lived together. Go to the spousal sponsorship. Go to those application forms, and in the document checklist, it provides a lot of suggestions on documentation that can be used to support the genuineness of your relationship, whether you're common law or married. You need something to show when you started living together. Yes, you can get letters from your family. Yes, you can get letters from your friend attesting to your common law relationship. But do you have shared bank accounts? Do you have employment benefits where you list your common law spouse as a beneficiary? Do you have a will that lists your spouse as a beneficiary, or life insurance? Do you have utilities with both of your names on it? Are you leasing your own apartment where both of your names are on that? You know, do you have cell phone bills that list both of your names? All of those things are possible. All right. Do you have children together? All right. Okay. Looks like Igor was posting the link to where we can book, which is awesome. And I want to thank everybody for sticking it out. Another quick reminder, if anyone is tuned in late, that I am going to offer one free access to my Express Entry DIY guide at the end of this video to people that stick it out to the end and tell me if they had a choice and money was no object, providing for your family was no object, was not a priority, you were independently wealthy, and you could work in any occupation you want. What would it be? For me, it would be archaeology. I would be an archaeologist, hands down. I love it. So wait till I tell you at the end of the video, and then you can post your comments. And my fearless paralegal Igor, he will be the one who chooses the winner. I don't want to be biased. Okay, because some of you I'm pretty biased towards because you're so faithful and you follow and you watch every video, and it's hard for me not to just want to give it to you. But I don't want to be biased. I want to be fair. So if this is your first time watching my EE Live Q&A, you have a chance to win too. But wait till I tell you. Don't post it yet. All right. I'm just scrolling through these long posts. Okay, I'll see if I can get through this one. Ahmed says, I've submitted my academic records of myself and my wife to CES. Do they usually take longer than 6 months? Oh, ECA questions, my friends. That's not something I can answer. My clients all submit their own ECAs, and so I couldn't even tell you. Okay, then the question he throws down here, is it necessary to submit a bank statement if I get a job offer from Canada? If you have a genuine job offer where you're getting points, you actually do not need to provide proof of funds. So that's a great question, Ahmed. Nope, you don't. If your job offer is supported by an LMIA, and you include that with your package as well as the job offer letter, conforming properly with immigration wants, then you do not need to provide proof of funds. Okay, moving next to Asan. Let's see, we've answered that one already. Sethi says, thank you, Mark. You are very, very welcome. Rima, I love this. She says, dear Mike. Well, I don't think there's a Mike around here, but I'm pretty sure she meant Mark. My question is related to travel history of my spouse. My spouse is non-accompanying, and he is a government officer. He often goes abroad for training purposes with an official passport. Should I include all the travel history of the official passport, or is it okay to include travel history of private passport only? Rima, every travel history. You need to include it all. If immigration is asking your spouse to provide details of their travel history, the expectation is that regardless of stamps, because remember, not all countries even stamp passports anymore, you're going to list a detailed breakdown of the entire travel history. Okay, Haru says, hi Mark, how are you from Morocco? Good to see you. Haru, you need to send me a picture of Morocco, and maybe I'll broadcast from there next time. Remember, this time my broadcasting is from, well, it's from Italy. So, near Milan. Okay, let's continue forward here. This one is Ralph, and he says, hi Mark, I hope you're doing well. I am indeed, although, as I indicated earlier, I have been battling a little bit of the cold, which in large part is attributed directly to the fact I have not been getting much sleep. But we're so close to getting this awesome Hold the immigration law machine set up. And when it's set up, then using my awesome, and I'll actually share it once again, my awesome web developers and marketing and branding people. Seriously, no, I don't want to update my Java. The awesome people at Parrot Solutions who are helping to build my website out and everything out. And you guys are going to love it. We got some really fun stuff on that site. Definitely not a boring immigration law firm website, but kind of fun. And it's going to evolve and do all kinds of crazy things just because, well, we're not the same as everybody else. But thanks to Parrot, big shout out to them who do a ton of stuff for me. You can see Hold the Immigration Law. We're right on here, as well as a bunch of other companies. And you can check out their branding that they do for you. And they do things properly. They've taught me things about this process that I never, ever would have dreamed even existed. At least I would have thought only Microsoft themselves and their website would understand this stuff. And so super, super grateful for all the support that they give. Global community, you bet. And they've got people all over the world, just like I intend to have in the future. And the designs, branding, web design and development, all of that. Big shout out to them. They're just doing a great, great job for me. So thank you guys at Parrot. Okay, now moving forward here. Okay, Ralph says, after opening an Express Entry account, when it will be good time to apply for a PNP to get a chance for 600 points? At any time. Do it at any time, Ralph. Okay, Naveen says, thank you, Mark, for answering the question. You bet. Okay, Vivek says, hello, Mark. Is it necessary to work in the trade we have certified for to qualify for 50 points? I have trade certificate, but did not work in this trade. Yeah, if you're talking about, Vivek, the Federal Skilled Trade Program, yeah, you need that work experience in order to claim those extra points for trade certification. You have to meet the eligibility requirements, and it requires that you actually have that experience. So yes, unless I'm somehow misinterpreting your question. I'm assuming it relates to the Federal Skilled Trade Program. Okay. Okay, Jason says, thanks, Mark, for your response. In case we decline our ITA, next time when we submit our application, do we need to answer yes to the question, have you applied before to IRCC? Thanks. Okay, to start with, Jason, if you have an ITA, an invitation to apply, I highly recommend that you book a paid consult with me before you decide to decline it. It may be that you're sitting at 600 points and maybe it doesn't make a difference. But the last thing in the world I'd ever want to see is someone to lose something that they have, to give it away and then never get it back again. And I've had some clients that that's happened to. And so I'm very, very reluctant with that. When you do, you've got an ITA. I always do, because you've got a file number. You have an E number that was attributed. And so I will indicate that I have applied before, and I'll put that in there. For permanent residence, I'll say yes, and I'll put the E number in. Now, technically, from a legal standpoint, the application itself is only made when the EAPR is filed. But I don't want to take any chances. Okay. All right, Ralph, last question, Marky says, if someone, his score is under 400, is there any chance to get his PNP in the province, even his knock in demand? Yes, Alberta routinely draws people that are under 400 CRS points because of their knock. Okay, Naveen says, experiences from outside Canada, India, you bet. There you go. So the reality is you, in your situation, you can go to school, you can work, there's no restrictions. In Canada, though, if you're on a study permit and you're going to school and you're working off campus for those 20 hours, that's a situation where you can't claim that as Canadian work experience. Okay, and there is Faryad Kashef. Greetings from Vienna. Big shout out. Faryad is the founder and one of the principals of this fine company right here, Parrot Solutions. So welcome, Faryad, and thanks for joining. I know it's pretty late there. And for all of you that are watching all over the world in locations where it's midnight or even later, thanks for joining. So big shout out to Faryad. Thanks for joining, and check out his site. If you guys need web development or anything like that, Parrot is the place that you go. Okay, Sam says, God bless you, Mark, for the best service you provide. You're very welcome, Sam. I'm looking forward to continue working with you, my friend. Okay, Mark says, thanks, Mark. You're welcome, Mark. Wonderful name, Mark. Katamba says, hello, Mark. Katamba here in Uganda, Africa. Just sent my documents. Awesome. So cool, Katamba. Okay. Shagufta says, if someone sends a work permit, then what is the procedure? I have no clue what you're asking there, my friend. You're going to have to rephrase that question. If someone sends a work permit, then what is the procedure? I'm assuming that maybe it's a job offer, but there's a whole bunch of other things to that, and I can't really answer that one. Okay. Gakulnath says, hi, Mark. Hello. Sean says, how much does it cost to book? It's $200 plus 5% GST sales tax, which is $210. And so that's $210 for a rocking, efficient, awesome 25 minutes with me. You can also book, if I'm full, because I often fill up quick, with my other awesome immigration lawyer, Susan Wood. She's also available to answer questions. Susan was my articling student back in, I think it was 2011. She's been practicing for years. She's exceptional. Her husband is even a professor of law at in the Faculty of Law at the University of Alberta. And they are just two awesome, awesome people. Okay, Katemba says, I started the preparation soon to book the consultations. Yes, great. Thanks, Katemba. Okay, and then Vicus says, check this link. Yeah, so Igor's just providing the link to a bunch of information. Thank you, Igor. Okay, and Sean is a teacher. Awesome, very cool. Shahid says, please tell me if my wife is pregnant and expected date to deliver is August the 15th. Well, to start with, Shahid, congratulations. That is so awesome. That is so cool. Nothing more amazing than seeing the birth of a child. Okay, then could she apply for a student visa for April 2020 or September 2020 intake? All right, well, anytime you've got a little one and you're expecting, immigration is going to say, how are you going to go to school when you have a little one? So you need to be able to explain that. But when it comes to applying, well, at the end of the day, they're going to have to look at it. That's a tough one, man. I'll be honest. I guess if she's expecting in April and she's planning to start, or expecting in August, and when would she plan to start school? Some women I know are exceptional. They can have their baby can be born one day and they're back at work the next day. And for some that's totally normal. There's no challenges or issues with that. But I think immigration would probably have a question, Shahid, about how she was going to be able to go to school. You'll just need it's not that she can't, or get her the study permit approved, regardless if you apply in April or September. I see, April or September intake. Well, I guess if you're applying for April 2020, you're going to need to really hustle here to get that through. I think it's going to be really tricky. If she gets the approval and then she's applying for the study permit, if it's September, then, you just have to explain. But I don't think there's really, I don't think there's, you can always apply. There's no harm in applying, but I think it probably would be a little bit of a challenge. You just have to make your case. Okay. Okay. So Gokulnath asks a question that I've actually already answered already. I've completed my bachelor's from India and completed my master's from Canadian University. Is it required to show a bachelor's in education history, even though I'm not claiming points for the bachelor's? No, it's not in the study history section, but in your personal history, 100% you're going to include that. So that's how I treat it. If you're not claiming study permit experience for an educational credential, you don't have an educational credential assessment for it, then I don't put it in that study history, but I do in the personal history. Okay. Okay, Will's asking more questions about owner-operators. Will, that's a very, very specific set of questions. And I can tell you when it comes to owner-operators, by its very nature, it becomes difficult to get points, that extra 50 points, because you can't extend a job offer to yourself, generally speaking. But there are potentially ways to get around it, depending upon how you structure things, your ownership. But one of the challenges, if you are getting an owner operator, you have to own at least, 51%, 50 point whatever. You have to own a majority stake in the company in order to get the owner operator LMIA. But then that also works counterintuitive. You have to very clearly establish things that you are an employee, that you pay withholdings to the government, that you do all of those steps in order to make it work. And it's really complicated, not easy. All right. Okay, Sean says in the US, you can only work 10 months with a 2-month break as a teacher. How can I obtain the 1-year work experience? When it comes to work experience, Sean, for teachers, most teachers are continue to be paid through that full cycle. So even though, like Canada, you have the 2 months off, you're still paid. It's still part of work. So you can claim that. All right, Ahmed, thanks a lot. We'll keep in touch. You bet. Mina says, my wife submitted her profile as a spouse unaccompanied, but still she didn't receive the PPR. My question is, okay, if we can change it to a company. Well, you can switch it back and forth all you want as long as you have not yet received your invitation to apply. You can add a spouse. You can list a spouse as not accompanying or unaccompanying. You can do anything you want before you submit the EAPR. After you submit your EAPR, then at that stage, you do have the ability, if you're getting married after you submit your EAPR, you can then add a spouse. And I've got a few people that I'm helping with that as well. So there's options available to you. Okay, let's see here. Sima says, I must appreciate your peace of mind while answering questions. If one doesn't have good IELTS scores, with 11 years of work experience, age 32, what can be the possibility for immigration? Need some suggestions. Sima, you need to book a paid consultation. So that's specific legal advice that would be directly to you. And I need to know a whole lot more about your situation in this in order to provide that specific legal advice. And that requires a paid consultation. Okay. Callum says, hey, Mark, my friend Dave and I got our West stuff back. Woo! Awesome. Scores of 481 and 496. Yeah. Looking forward to using your DIY guide to get our EAPR submitted. Thanks for your consultation a couple of weeks ago. It was really helpful. Would highly recommend. And he gives me one of these things right here. Awesome. Thanks, Callum. Fantastic. That's great. I'm so excited for you guys. Remember, if after going through the guide, there's some areas that you're just uncertain and you just want peace of mind, remember, the whole concept of healthy immigration law is support. And the whole motto, which you will see when I launch my site, it's client-centered, firm-supported. All right? Okay, Vivek says, sorry for the confusion. I meant for CEC. I didn't work in the trade I was certified for. So will I get 50 points? Oh, Vivek, you're going to need to book a consult because that is a complicated situation. If you haven't worked in it, yeah, we need to look at it very carefully to see exactly what you're talking about. Okay, Majid says, hi. Bernard says, hey, Mark, if I submitted proof of funds, but average of 3 months, not 6, the guy at the bank did the mistake. And I already submitted my EAPR. Can I change it? Is there any chance they reject my EAPR for something that's silly? Or they would ask for it again if they need to? You know, Bernard, there was a time where I would just laugh at that question. And I'd say, oh, you know what? It's not a big deal. Officers use common sense. They give you the benefit of the doubt. You know, don't worry about it. That's what the advice I would have told you when Express Entry was first launched, because that's what they told us. But the whole world has changed. And in all honesty, I would get a new letter, cross your fingers, and upload it through the web form, through a case-specific inquiry, and say, please note that the bank made a mistake. I didn't catch it. Here's the proper letter with my 6 months of average balance on it. Lots of people out there, many consultants would probably say, oh, don't listen to Mark. He's making you do way more work than you need to. Well, to heck with the consultants. The reality is, well, maybe they don't pay attention to the number of refusals that happen for goofy, idiotic reasons. But me, I don't deal in probabilities. I don't deal in, well, it's more likely than not that your application will go through. I don't touch that area. That's garbage. My question that I ask myself is there even a possibility that some rogue officer who's on some high horse decides that they're going to see how many Express Entry applications they can reject for stupid reasons? I don't want to subject my clients ever to that. So in your case, Bernard, I just upload the new one. No harm done. Hopefully you don't get that garbage officer who refuses for stupid reasons. Okay. Faryad says, thanks, Mark. Our pleasure. You bet, my friend. Okay. Gokulnath is asking more questions about job offers. Hi, Mark. I'm working in Canada for the last year, and I got an ITA. And one question, do you have valid job offer? What should I say, yes or no? Well, obviously, you've already said yes, probably, if you got the ITA. Maybe you received it without the job offer, but a job offer is only a job offer if you have an employer who's supporting you. A job offer is only a job offer if you are working on a labor market impact assessed work permit, or you've been working on a named employer work permit, not an open one, for that company for at least a year. And in both of those scenarios, that company is willing to give you a job offer letter that says they will employ you for at least a year after obtaining your permanent residence and landing as a permanent resident. Shagufta says, good night, Mark. Good night. Actually, I feel like going to sleep. Unfortunately, I've got a bunch of stuff we still have to do, right, Igor? We're going to connect after this, meet with a few clients. I'm showing Igor some of the ropes. And yep, we're going to meet up with Susan as well to talk about some of the challenges here that we're dealing with, some of our office infrastructure. Okay, I'm just about done, guys. I'm going to wrap up here in just a few seconds. We're going to end with Sean here. He says, if the degree is from the US, does it still need to be graded by WES? Yes. For the 1 year of continuous work experience, how long can a work gap be between jobs? If you are trying to claim 1 year continuous, there's no gap. It has to be together. But once you've obtained that 1 year of continuous, then you can have a gap as long as that work experience that you're adding in is within a 10-year period. Okay, and Sean says, sorry about all the posts. I'm just excited because I have not been able to participate in a live feed for a long time. No worries, Sean. It is absolutely great to have you with us. Okay, and Syed ends off with, may Allah bless you and your family. Thank you so much, Syed. That means a lot. All right, guys, it is now time. I want you guys to post in the end here, if you had a choice of any occupation in the world that you would want to do other than, well, I guess you could say, I love my job and I wouldn't do anything else. That's fine too. I want you to post what your current job is, what your dream job would be if money was no object, if you were independently wealthy, and those who put in and I guess I'll have Igor reach out to you guys individually, at least reach out to the winner. Post in the comments what job you would one day love to be working in if you had a choice. For me, like I said, it's archaeology. Whoever Igor chooses will get one access to my express entry, complete step-by-step course to doing this whole process yourself. Okay? All right, so put it in there and let's see what we've got here. And I'll read them off as people post them. And then once I close it up here, and I'll close it up, I'll give you 5 minutes to post it. So it's 1:10 p.m. right now. And I'll just double check and make sure I don't have something else that we're missing, Igor, here. I think we're okay. Yep, I don't have an appointment for a little bit. Okay, so let's see. So Simon says that she's a nurse, and she said she'd explore the world of architecture. Wonderful, very cool, and natural beauty wherever possible. Very, very cool. Okay, Katamba says he said he'd be a pilot, but he's now in tax. Very cool. So he's with the Uganda Revenue Authority. Oh, I bet Katamba, you've got lots of friends, right? It's kind of like, well, in a way, well, anyone who's working for the government, collecting taxes for the government is probably doesn't get a lot of thank you letters and bouquets of flowers. So Katamba, I could see flying through the clouds as a pilot would be a wonderful, wonderful switch. But like me, as an immigration lawyer, I do it to provide for my family. Fortunately, it is something that I really love. And the only trade-off, I guess, that would prevent me from saying I would want to do this for the rest of my life is the fact that it's super stressful. And when our clients hire us and we work with them, we take on the stress from them and put it on ourselves. And I know that's not the way we should really think about it, but I do. When people book consults with me, I really stress about it, that I'm giving them as much advice to help them as I possibly can. And when they show faith in us and hire us to collaborate with them together to build their applications and to make them the best that they possibly can be, you know, my heart just goes out to them. And I want to do everything in my power to give them the best chance of success, which of its very nature creates a lot of stress. And so that's probably why I would probably not be an immigration lawyer and I'd be an archaeologist. Okay, nothing like sitting in the dirt, sifting through, looking for little particles of evidence of days gone by. Okay, okay, so Gakulnath says car driving. Awesome. Hopefully a race car driver. Sean says, I love teaching. I would never give it up for anything. Very cool, Sean. Absolutely love that. Cece says, cake decorator, but I'm currently a nurse. Very cool. My kids love watching this one show. I don't know if it's on YouTube. I don't know, or maybe it's Netflix. They watch it called Cake Boss. And they absolutely love that show. Okay, Botched C says, if money would not be an option, then I would be more than happy to help poor people around the world, especially Africa, where poor people, children die in poverty. If I would have limited but a lot of money, even then I would spend all my money in order to help people. It does break my heart to see people suffering because others taking advantage of them. Mark, your idea is great as well. Hope from your heart you to achieve it one day. Who knows? Maybe one day. Very interesting. Yes. And I think all of us feel when we see people suffering all over the world, no matter where they are. And, I think when it really comes down to it, we're a small world. Like, we're not as big as everybody thinks we are. We're not as different as everybody feels we are. Whether we're our religion, whether we're Muslim or Christian, whether we're Hindu or Shinto or we practice Judaism, it doesn't matter. The reality is we're all children of God. He loves all of us. And, as we work to try to make this world better for one another, well, how do we do that? Just by being a little kinder, just a little more helpful. And as you've identified, Botchti, not taking advantage of people, trying to get ahead by exploiting other people. And I see that all the time in my industry. And it just really, really frustrates me when I see so many people being exploited by just unscrupulous people, whether they're consultants or overseas agents, often ghost consultants. It just really hurts me to even think about it. Okay, Mark says, my dream job is to become a humanitarian affairs officer in the United Nations. Awesome. What are you doing now, Mark? Syed says, thank you. You're helping people to live good and better lives in Canada. God bless you and your family. You're very welcome, Syed. Okay, Naveen says, if money's not an issue, we'll partner with Healthy Law and help people around the world. On a serious note, I want to open my chain of food and beverage restaurants around the world. Cool, Naveen. That sounds awesome. That's pursuing your passion. Bayan says, now a translator, but I would love to be a full-time mom raising 5 kids. Awesome, Bayan. I can tell you that when my wife and I were first married, we had a long discussion and we talked about whether or not we would be able to support our family with one of us working while the other stayed home with the children. And my wife, she made a massive sacrifice to stay home with our children and raise them while I worked. I started as a teacher and I love teaching, but the money that I made as a teacher wasn't quite enough to support our big family of 4 kids. So I made the decision, and in all honesty, we had 2 children at the time I made the decision, but we knew we were going to have more. I made the decision to go to law school so that my wife could stay at home. And so as far as I'm concerned, there is no more honorable profession in the whole world than that of a mother or a father. And when I think of the amazing women out there that have sacrificed careers and their own individual pursuits to stay home and care for their children, there is no more noble, more honorable profession in the whole world. I don't care who you are. If you're the president or prime minister of a country, if you're the head CEO of a company, if you are a professional in any way, a lawyer, a dentist, whatever it is, a doctor, the reality is there is no more noble profession than that of a mother. And I'll throw fathers in too. Okay. Faryad says, love my job working in a green countryside with a laptop and internet only. Awesome. And you know what? The beauty of what I'm doing here now is that if I had good Wi-Fi, I could literally go out to our cabin out by Waterton, sit on the hill and do this live Q&A right from there. Maybe I'll be able to figure it out. Okay, Naveen says your hard work is paying off. Mark, stay on the same path. Okay, we'll end with Naveen. So I will have Igor go through there now, assess them. And you know what, Igor? Why don't you announce it right here? Whoever, to see who see who you think is the winner. Now, no one say anything bad about Igor because I'm I'm putting him in a difficult spot. But so no one get mad at Igor. He is just the messenger. Um, uh, for sure, we'll have other opportunities in the future. I probably won't do this every EE live. Every EE live Q&A. It's just not practical to do that. But it was kind of fun to do it today. So we'll see once Igor posts here who the winner is. Then we'll wrap this episode up. Hopefully he's still tuned in. He could very well be working too. He's a hardworking kid, and I'm so grateful to have him a part of our firm. All right. So Bayan says, agree. I never see it as a sacrifice. You're right. And I think the work that I do in my office, it gives me tremendous satisfaction because all of you are so grateful for what I do. But the reality is my wife does all of her work in the background quietly. And she sacrifices a ton for my kids. And when I look at my kids, how well they're doing, just the wonderful, great kids that they are, I can tell you that the vast majority of the reason for that is because of my wife. So shout out to all you amazing mothers out there. Okay. Thank you for all your entries. It was so great to see people sharing their deepest dreams and aspirations with us. Thank you. All right, Igor, who is the winner? Let us know. Naveen is trying to influence him with 3 big smiley faces. Pick me, Igor. That's funny. It reminds me of when I was a teacher, which I was before I became a lawyer. And I was in my student teaching, I taught elementary age children. And whenever you'd have like some little treat or something that you're giving out for the person who gave the right answer, they're all like, oh, pick me, pick me. All right, Igor. Okay. Vika says, thank you. Igor, you're killing me, man. Just pick someone already. I got to wrap this up and have a little bit of lunch before we jump together. Amir says, many thanks for your efforts. God bless you and your family. Okay, while Igor has taken so long to do this, I want to give a quick little shout out. Okay, let's see who we have here. Having considered all, I am inclined to choose Bayan Taleb. I deeply believe kids are the future we have. Thank you for willing to give, dedicate yourself to those who will make our world a better place. All right, so Bayan Taleb is the winner. And I want to just show you guys what Bayan has won. And if you look here, you'll see if you log in, and Bayan is going to go right here, and I'm not leaving you guys empty-handed, okay? I'm not. So those of you who stuck out to the end, I'm not going to leave you empty-handed. You go to the individual guide right here. Then you can click on Learn More. Then it takes you to the express entry step by step. I really have to change that because this is a full course. You click on Purchase the guide. Then in Lifetime Access, you're going to click on Purchase Guide. And then here, you're going to type in EEDIY 50, and then you're going to click Apply. And when you do that, it drops the price from $497 US to $248.50. So just wanted to share that with all of you guys who have tuned in. That's a little 50% discount for those who've stuck it out to the end. And I also want to let Ben know that we'll send the code for you to log in. And when you type in your code, it will say do now $0. Okay, thanks guys for participating. So fun. I want you guys all to just have the most amazing day today. We're going to see a lot of changes here with Houthi immigration law. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to have Igor and Susan and other lawyers that I will hire going forward because they're going to free me up to have more time to do this, which is really what I love. All right, guys, take care. I want to wish you guys all the best as you navigate this crazy world that we call Express Entry. Take care.